Here is a question that sounds simple, but actually nobody asks. How do scientists actually know how do you make decisions? Because you can't just ask someone, because people are really good at giving explanations. They are not very good at explaining what is actually happening. Ask someone why they bought something impulsively, and they give you 100 reasons why they did it. A confident, coherent answer, but it's almost always wrong. Instead of asking, why did you decide this? They started to ask, what changes behavior even if people think nothing changed? That simple question changed everything. Here's what's interesting. Your brain creates an explanation after the decision has been already made. You acted and your brain created a story to explain it. It's not lying, it's doing something very useful. It's creating a narrative to make your decisions feel intentional. Psychologically, it matters a lot, but it also means that the explanation you give to yourself or to someone else why you did something is also the least reliable. This is why researchers stopped asking people what they were thinking, but they focused on conditions. What happens when you change one tiny detail of the situation? Same person, same choice, one different thing. If behavior shifts reliably, you know you found something real. You don't need to know what someone thinks to understand their decision. You just need to know what consistently moves it. This is why laboratory experiments were so powerful. Researchers could present choices that were logically identical. They just framed it in slightly different ways. And the people, they responded differently, not randomly, predictably. Change the wording, change the default, change the sequence, the behavior follows. And when asked, people insisted their choice was fully rational. That's the key finding. People believe their reasoning. Often they are reacting and explaining afterwards. The obvious question was, will any of this survive in the real world? One well-known experiment was the study of judges making parole decisions. Researchers analyzed hundreds of parole decisions. The strongest predictor of whether the parole was approved was not the severity of the case or the legal arguments. It was the time of the day. Right after breaks, the approval rates were significantly higher. And before lunch, they dropped dramatically. Same law, same evidence, different mental energy. Real lives were affected by something simple as when the judge last ate. That's a hard finding to sit with, but it tells you something very important. Context shapes decisions, even when people think they are completely objective. As neuroscience advanced, it backed up what psychologists were finding. Emotional processing fires up before deliberate thinking. Your brain responds emotionally before your conscious mind processed what's happening. And it doesn't mean that emotions ruin decisions. It's actually more complicated. There are patients who can think perfectly clearly, remember facts, and reason, but they struggle with trivial decisions. It's because they are missing emotional signals. Without emotion, the brain loses a critical input. Emotion is not the problem. Not noticing emotion is. If decisions are shaped this much by conditions, framing, and context, then whoever designs these conditions has enormous power over your choices. Not because you are weak, but because structure shapes decisions. The layout of a supermarket, the default in a form, or the structure or order in a menu. These aren't neutral features. They are decision-making architecture, and they are shaping your decisions, whether you notice them or not. Your environment is already doing its part in your decision-making. The question is if it's working for you or against you. Behavior science doesn't say that people are irrational. It says that our intuition about our own rationality is fundamentally incomplete. Once you see that, the goal changes. Stop trying to win every decision through sheer willpower. You start paying attention to the setup. That's not giving up control, that's understanding how control actually works. If decisions can be shaped this reliably, if timing, framing, and defaults matter this much, then the next really important question is, who is designing these elements for you right now? Because these ideas didn't stay in academia. They moved into marketing, political campaigns, and technological companies. In the next video, we are going to look into specific experiments that proved all of this. The studies that changed how governments prepared policies and companies designed products. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video, and please tell me in the comments, has there ever been a moment when you realized you weren't actually thinking, you were just reacting?